Because it said something here about dummy immediate.
Now we're gonna have to start all over.
All right.
No. We've got a question up there, Don. Why don't you see?
We have a question. What it is? And my question button B. Where's my question button at?
See the little question
there
mark?
we go.
It's hidden.
Can you print on metal? Oh, hey.
Pamela, you're not allowed to ask any questions.
Pam Carrillo. Pam used to be my favorite customer.
She says something nice about us in a few.
Can you print on metal, Margie? Not really, Margie. When you think about printing on things with a direct-to-garment printer, we're using water-based inks. So the general rule is if you pour water on it, what happens, right? Hey, Kristen Nickel. There are treatments you might be able to. Honestly, if you're going to be printing on metals, you really probably need to do sublimation.
Yeah.
That's what it fits for.
But you can print on canvas, jeans, wood, a variety of other things.
Exactly. So, you can, and thanks for the kind words, Pam. The machine is versatile, but not ridiculously versatile, all right? So, getting back to thank you for derailing me. Very much.
No problem. That was great.
Right. Back to the printer itself. What can you do? The one thing we've done, like here, I'm printing 4 up of a standard job. I can be doing multiple jobs. This is the real benefit. When you start to get into direct-to-garment, a lot of people just think about shirt sizes.
Yeah.
And with the versatility of the Platen system that we offer, what we try to do is get you thinking in a different mindset, which is basically, what about print sizes? It's a pretty good size graphic on this type of shirt. This is a medium shirt. So a medium shirt, this is a fine size design that I could do. And by keeping it this size, I was just able to produce 4 of these.
Yeah.
Instead of 2. You want to take that, don't you?
I do.
It's driving him crazy to him. I'm holding the shirt. But it allows you the versatility of working within your Platen sizes so you can actually get more productivity out of your machine, be able to offer your customers a little bit better value.
Yeah, because you're making money while those are printing. You're on the phone.
Win-win-win situation. I guarantee if you had a customer who had a 12x8 design, you say, listen, if we can knock that back an inch in each direction, I'll save you $1 a shirt. They're going to go, I'm there, right?
Yeah, and you save a lot of time.
They're going to save money. You're going to be twice as productive. And you go, and Pete can show you at some point on one of his webinars, we can show you a way that you could press 2 shirts at one time by simply taking a piece of Nomax, cutting it in half, putting it on your Platen, so where the 2 shirts overlap, you have a fold. You don't have to worry about putting a seam into the shirt because there's a gap in there.
Yeah.
Are there other questions on the machine so far? Okay, what's that? It seemed like, there's a question popped up. Your daughter thinks this design is cool.
Well, we'll heat press that shirt and we'll save it for her. You can have it when
back to the printer, Mark was asking why DTG, and for why Coleman and Company, and Coldesi, we explained that a little bit. Now, why the DTG line of printers? A lot of good reasons. We've been at it since before everybody else in the marketplace. This is actually our 11th year. Bill's going 10, just because Bill's been here 10. And we actually started the very first DTGs came out in 2005. So this is our 11th year that we've been in the DTG marketplace. What that translates into, it doesn't sound like a long time. The industry started about 6 months. Now, it started at the end of 2004. So we were about a year, just under a year from when the industry started. We've lived it. We've loved it. We've died, cried. And Bill and I have been through a lot of pain together in the early stages, but we understand the industry better than anybody else. And what has happened is each generation of machines have come out, we've taken what we've learned in the past and have applied it to the machines. We look at some of the stuff we used to take as gospel and actually wrote in manuals. We look at it now and it's like, holy smokes, we didn't have the background. Nobody had the background because it was a brand new industry. So we have learned and have a rock solid training curriculum as well as tech support that's above all the others. Yeah. And a lot of it's all backed up with videos and FAQs and what I call it our acronyms.
Yeah.
Our FAQs, WAVs, and the PDFs. Can you print photographs? Absolutely. Good question, Margie. Basically, anything that you can do in design and Photoshop, you can pretty much print out onto a garment. Here's one that we did actually.
Close that question box so it shows up.
Question box here. This is actually a photograph that we printed onto another canvas. You can see the detail in that is pretty solid. And by the way, Yeah, here's a more kind of an artsy type of photograph that is morphed with a graphic that is it looks like it's a canvas, but it's actually a black T-shirt we printed on, and we've actually stapled it to this just to make it display nicely.
Yeah.
So yes, to answer your question, you can do photographs. Like I said, any graphic you can conceptualize and get into Photoshop or Illustrator or CorelDRAW, you're going to be able to bring in, and you're going to be able to print it out on a shirt. There may be some things you're going to have to learn some tricks of how to optimize, your white ink under basically this type of graphics. But that's what Heath's here for. It's what Bill's here for. It's what Tim's here for. They'll help you with that aspect of it. And that's the thing we've learned over time is how to optimize it, and also how to teach people how to make money with the machines.
Yeah.
Not just about making them print real pretty. It's about how to make money with them. Little tips like this as well. There are optional Platens. When we look at selling points of the DTGs, the fact that this Platen system comes out of the machine, all right? You can buy a second set, and there's probably, if there's some of you all, a lot of people should, they were decorators already. You may be embroiderers. And if you think about embroidery, when you got your machine, you go, why do I got two of everything, right? The idea is you have two of everything, so that you have one on the machine sewing, one on the machine so you can unload it, you can reload it, and have it ready to go. When the machine stops, you're ready to quickly reload again. With an extra set, if you were to buy an extra Platen system, you have it loaded up with shirts. As soon as it stops, I take the shirts off, boom, pop it on, start this printing.
Yeah.
Then I worry about taking the shirts off, getting them heat pressed, getting more shirts onto the machine, right? And getting it printed again. There may be some machines out there a little bit faster than the Viper2 on the marketplace, but our interface time is lower per shirt. We loaded 4 shirts on here, and I flapped my gums for a while, and I was printing 4 shirts. I touched the machine twice to load it and to unload it.
Yeah.
If you were looking at a machine that only has a single fixed Platen, which most of our competitors on the market have, I would have had to touch that machine not 4 times, but 8 times.
To put it on and take it off.
Put it on, put it off, put it on, take it off.
And it'll all fit in a back bedroom. It'll all fit in a small room. So.
And we printed 4 shirts, Mark.
How many?
4 shirts.
Okay.
Mark's excited about 4
Got
shirts.
another question there.
All right, we have a question. Why is Mark excited about 4 shirts, and why does he keep saying housekeeping?
Nobody.
What makes this printer better than any other DTG brand printer? Because of the handsome sales guys we have, Chiron. How are you doing, sir? Chiron and I talked today. There's a lot, that's kind of a loaded question. Some of the reasons I've just explained, the versatility of the Platen system. I have this all over my face.
You do.
You intentionally did that, right?
Yeah.
Versatility of our Platen system. Price to performance is, I think, the best on the marketplace.
Yeah.
Our inks, while not the cheapest on the marketplace, you're going to find when you look at the real competitors in this marketplace that we are the least expensive per print of any of the major players on the marketplace. Our RIP software, which I'll show you in a bit here when we go to print, is definitely the industry standard for the direct-to-garment. 2-year warranty. We were the first with a 2-year warranty. Now, about 2/3 of the industry has followed with that, but we do have a 2-year warranty on the machines. So, I mean, there's this tough. Our support website, and we can show you that later, but it's support.coldesi.com. Go up and play around there a little bit.
Free training online.
Free training
anytime you
online
want it.
with one of the best instructors in the industry. Go up to the website you signed up at for this, our CAS webinars, and look at the slate just for this week, next week of training. We have, tomorrow? Heath is doing another pre-treat. And
Spider Mini.
He's doing on Spider Mini. He's doing another pre-treating by hand, I think, later on at some point. He's doing, next week, he's doing like tips and tricks for the RIP software. All that's free. You become a customer bar, you have access to all of that. When placing the shirt on the Platen, how do you know it is centered? Good question, Kayla. That's experience, right?
Right.
It is experience.
There's some tricks you can do, but
cool thing is the guys at Coleman & Company now have a laser system that mainly was used for a heat press, but you could use that laser system if you want. And one thing that we don't always like to admit, most shirts come to it with a center line on them. If you feel comfortable that company's got a center line as being right, he's going, no, because it's never right. You can always center it up yourself. But the reality check is when you're doing larger shirts, you just use your fingers and you use your eyeballs. And once you mark it, it comes out pretty straight. When you're trying to hit things like a chest print or a pocket print, it's easiest to actually take like a Platen and actually print squares on the Platen. And then, and Heath, again, this is something Heath and I, we've been brainstorming. Yeah, we got a lot of details. You take something like an old mouse pad, cut it into squares, set them in those 4 areas. Now you have an optical that when you line it up, it pops up that area you want to print to.
Yeah. Most of the time it's experience though.
It
You
is,
get
you
to
know,
the point where you're not even thinking about
it's
it.
crazy. I early on, I had a guy come in here who was an embroiderer right when we were starting DTG, and he wanted to print some shirts. He wanted to do some left chest print. Can you print these left chests? And I go, you mean and hit it in the right place? He goes, don't worry, I'll put them on. If you show me where it's going to print on the Platen, I'll put the shirts on right. We did like 48 shirts, and he didn't miss one by maybe a quarter inch.
Wow.
Just by eyeballing it.
And the other thing about centering things is close enough is really good enough because bodies aren't built perfect.
That's
Once you put the shirt
Other than
on,
mine.
Once you put the shirt on and you're walking in it and you're wearing it, if you're 99% there, you can't tell. It's
Right.
impossible.
That's true. That's true. All right.
All right, so where we at, Caleb? All right, is this based on I assume it's is this based on an Epson print engine and print head? Yes. This machine is based off of an Epson 3880 print head, and basically, from a print head's perspective, because questions going to come up. If you're looking at the Epson printer, the Epson F2000, the Epson F2000 uses a TFP DX7 10-channel print head. This is the TFP DX7 8-channel print head. And they only print with 8 channels. Why they have a 10, I don't know. Maybe
Right.
they had an excess of them, so they decided to build their printer on it. But that's one of the things we really like about it is the pressurization of the system. It's the shortest ink line system we've ever had. Basically, your longest line is from here to here. So you have a very short ink line, so you don't have as much line for the inks to settle in. And you take a machine like our M2 or our old Viper, holy smokes, they had like 5-6 feet of line in some cases. Huge benefit there.
All right. Is there any margin for error when adjusting all the Platens to the same level? Do all 4 have to be precisely the same level?
I don't know if I'd use the word precisely, but you definitely need to be in the same zip code.
Yeah.
It's actually a fairly easy process to do. It is kind of tedious the first time you do it, but once you've got a process down, it's pretty quick to do. We use a very sophisticated measurement device of what, 75 cents?
No, it depends. You can use
1 quarter.
1 quarter. Oh, it's a quarter on the plat. Basically, you place a quarter or a stack of coin, and you go to each corner and you align them. And then once you've done that, when you move over to the next one, your gap is the same. You could probably use something other than quarters.
That's something they will teach you how to do in
Right,
training.
training.
Bring your own quarters.
It's not a huge thing, but it is important that you do have them all lined up level. And it is, and it's a great point, Robert. It is one of the things that comes with the territory of having such a flexible Platen system is you do have to make sure it's right in the first place. But other than that, I'll take the downsides that the upsides other. Plus, if something were to happen to one of these Platens, you can pop one of these off and just order that component instead of buying a whole other system. Or, if you get one corner, if you had something that was out of whack on a single solid Platen, that Platen's kind of toast. With this, you just fix the side that's out of whack with it.
And hey, Art, I just want to say one more thing about the print head. That's important, but not just because you have the same print head in 2 different printers does not mean they print the same. And even though the Epson has the same basic print head, it still can't print 4 shirts at once.
Correct, which is what excites Mark. All right, so I mean that it is, and we've had good success. Understand that we've been doing this since 2005, and all of the machines we've sold since 2005, except for the M2, are a repurposed Epson printer.
Right.
And I feel like we've mastered it better than anybody in the industry, and we have a good working relationship with Epson with those type of printers.
Yep.
All right. Other questions, or do we want to jump into
Let's do something. Yeah,
let's
do
go into
something.
some RIP software, and we're gonna go through and want to set it up to print some white shirts. So Heath, you want to load up a couple white shirts for me while I am showing them the RIP software. So if things get wonky on you here,
Yep.
All right, I'm getting ready to change over from the screen to the computer.
And why don't you minimize that sidebar so they can see everything? The little red arrow up top there.
That one.
There you go.
Okay. All righty. So we are going to go into our RIP software. This is what's called DTG RIP Pro 6. We have it loaded up for multiple machines, but suffice it, we'll just show you the Viper2 part of it. The RIP software, what it actually is it's a printer driver on steroids. For those of you who aren't familiar with it is, RIP stands for Raster Image Processor. And what this does is allows you to bring in your images from programs like Photoshop, Illustrator, and Corel and whatnot, and actually be able to send them to the printer. It'll do things for us, sort of like the white underbase we saw printed. That was actually generated by the RIP. So I got a question here. Nope, didn't have a question. I was wrong. Anyway, so you do have, in this situation, we've chosen that I'm going to do a white shirt, okay? And I've already dropped a couple of graphics in here. We've chosen to do a white shirt, and we've got it set up. Ah, that's the old one. I want to delete that one. That's the one that we were doing some test printing with. All right, so this is going to show when I go into my Viper white graphics quality. All right, it's going to show my Platen system, which is my Viper2 up. All right, and what this represents, these light gray areas here are actually the printable area. The dark gray is the actual print area of the printer. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to bring in my graphics. I hope I can find them now because I went somewhere else on my other graphics. Where'd you have the graphics at, Bill? Are they the baseball graphic?
So you put it over there on the desktop.
On the desktop?
It's right on the desktop. It's
Yep.
called Baseball for Vinyl.
Baseball for vinyl. Bang. As you'll notice right here, I have a PSD file. I can actually drag and drop if I want, or I can also click on it. I'd already clicked it to open it up, so it's going to bring it in. All right. And we have this set up. All right. So that, oh, how'd you put the shirts on?
Just one collar up towards the.
We need two this way.
Two this way.
Yeah. Sorry. We've got this set up so it populates one Platen at a time. You also can set this up to populate both Platens at the same time. And in the case where we had the 4 up, you could have it populate all 4 the same, 2 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, however you wanted. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to populate Platen number 2 with the same image. All right. So I got this again. I want to open that. And it's going to pop that into the second position right there. All right. So now I have these 2 designed. I'm actually going to grab both of them, even though they're the same design. I'm actually just going to rip these only up front. And what ripping is doing is it's actually processing it. Yes, it's the color this way. It's actually spooling the job. Show me my paper size 17.5 by 25.95, which is the overall print area. All right. And it shows the job is spooled here. I'm gonna talk a little bit while we're finishing loading the shirts up. I didn't tell Heath that he had loaded them at a 90-degree angle to what we wanted them. But because of the size of this design, and this is a benefit I guess I should have brought up during the rip, we were talking about the Platen system. Because of the size of this design, I'm actually able to rotate it and go a little bit wider and not so high. So instead of actually printing the shirts at a 16.5-inch tall by an 11.5 wide, we're going the other way around. You can do that. You can rotate that around in the software in any orientation you want with the shirt. So it's not like a machine that has a fixed Platen. Specific machines I think of, like the Brother, the Anajet machines, have a fixed Platen that you load kind of like you would in screen printing. And that kind of limits you to printing the front of a shirt and the back of the shirt. All right. Looks like I got a question here. How can when I click on that mark, it doesn't have a question there? When I go over here, it shows a hand.
Oh, that's because someone just raised their
Raise
hand.
your hand. Okay. All right. If you have a question, type it.
You
Don't
got to
just-
type it in. Yeah.
Don't just raise your hand, but type it if you have a question. We may have just not cleared the hands
Yeah,
last
yeah.
time. All right. Are there any questions about the RIP software itself to this point?
Yes, it does come with the printer.
Yes, it is included with the printer. That's actually it's a good point. The company that writes this RIP software with us has been doing this since the inception of direct-to-garment. Actually, it's a company I worked for back in the mid-'90s called Catalink Technology Corporation. And we are one of the few companies that actually include this with their printer.
Yeah. A lot of
Two
times there'll be
major-
advertised pricing,
Yeah.
but you still need
Yeah.
to rep.
You know, when you look at our 2 main competitors in the marketplace are basically Brother and Epson.
Yeah.
And both of them, most of their dealers offer this as a optional RIP package.
Right.
This is something that comes included with ours, so you're not looking at an additional $1,200 to $1,800 for a package included. Does the best job in the market of the underbasing I've ever seen.
Yeah, there you go.
Here we go. Who is we're at?
I noticed you have a best queue. What are the ink settings that make the best queue?
They're the bestest. We have white bed. Would you say? Heath?
It's basically printer resolution. There's
Yeah, it's the res of the print. You know, we have white graphics quality. We have white graphics best. We have different settings that we can use in terms of in our world. resolution doesn't necessarily translate into sharpness of print. It usually it translates into intensity of print. I guess the best way to say saturation, right? When you go to the best mode, right, you're actually giving it the highest amount of ink,
There you go.
right? When you go into the quality mode, you're going to have it's a little bit faster printing mode, all right? We also, if you'll notice while I'm up here, we have settings, okay? Black shirts, color shirts, white ink only. So if you had a black shirt, right? And I'm going to go ahead and release the job, by the way. Mark's getting nervous because nothing's making noise behind us. We also have a white ink only mode. I would use that if I was doing designs that were like just white text or something like that.
Right.
And you can bring your images in there and you don't have to worry about doing anything fancy. It understands if it's 100% black, it's 100% white. Yeah. If it's 50% black, like a gray, it's a 50% white.
Now, Don, as a way of segue, I noticed there's a blank spot in the middle of that ball. What are we going to put there, and how are we going to do that?
Your head, if you keep bothering me when I'm doing this webinar. Basically, the reason we've we've left some space in there in that baseball is that's where we're going to kind of segue.
Yes.
You know what? Now that I think about it, when we come back, let's act like I'm on a segue. I like this little thing in front of me, right?
I'm glad no one can see you right now.
That's right. It's troubling even to me. No, what we're going to do is Mark Vila has taken the same graphic and taken the vector of the stars, and then he's also added the words mom and the words dad. We're actually going to cut them out of two different types of vinyl. Like I said, as I mentioned at the beginning when Mark wasn't listening, we've got mom, I think we're cutting out of a glitter vinyl, and we're using like a gold opaque for dad.
Yep.
And we're actually going to show you how you can kind of incorporate those two together and get some flexibility out of it. It's really a cool way to do it. On top, we'll show you a little bit about names and numbers.
Yeah, sounds
good. So those are kind of the applications where you can kind of mix without getting carried away with it. You could do this something similar to this if you're doing embroidery as well.
Yeah, and Mark, what are the advantages to kind of combining the technologies? What do you think the mixed media?
Well, the biggest thing that I work in Coleman and Company, so we handle supplies. So after folks get into the machine, are you going back to camera?
Yeah, we're going back to camera. Let's slide in here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, don't do that.
It's nice.
I'm gonna do a screenshot of that, and it's gonna end up in all kinds of
Oh
places.
God, terrible.
Your wedding
Anyway.
announcement, for example.
So I work for Coleman and Company, and when we're on the phones talking with folks who own direct-to-garment printers, they get into things and they run into the same thing that embroiderers run into, which is why they're buying a direct-to-garment printer, or screen printers run into why they're buying a direct-to-garment printer. You're turning away a certain amount of business no matter which technology you're using. So when you've got direct-to-garment printer and you add a technology like doing vinyl, I'll show you a perfect example of something that you might turn away. So if we've got, say, a basketball team and they want you to make t-shirts for them, and I played basketball when I was in middle school, and when we practiced, we wore t-shirts and these shorts. So you're not going to direct
a lot of weight.
I lost
since middle
yes.
school.
Wow.
These
You
are
and
my
several
these were my
friends.
shorts back then. No. But in all seriousness, when the t-shirts are no problem, obviously, you
Right.
can print one. You can take any type of t-shirt and you can put anything with as many colors as you'd like on it with direct-to-garment printer. However, when you're printing on a material like this, that's mesh, that's got holes. Maybe they want glitter, maybe they don't. I mean,
That's a
that
two-layer, by the way, guys. That's
Yeah.
really cool. It's a two-layer vinyl.
So you're not going to be able to print on something like this. Screen printing is not going to be super easy to do on this. You know, there's not a lot of things that are easy to do on a material like this besides a vinyl material. So you've got a whole nother media of things you can work with that is not meant for direct-to-garment printing. And the reason why I mentioned Coleman and Company in the beginning of this is because people talk to us about this all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And they end up getting a cutter, or they end up going into transfers or something to that effect.
Right.
And this is by far the easiest, simplest, and inexpensive way to add what your customers are going to ask.
Even if it's just glitter, which has got to be the
Right.
least expensive way to get into the bling business, period.
Exactly. And it's actually, in a lot of cases, people are asking for this more because of the price point of it.
Yes.
You know, it's a lot cheaper from a standpoint of equipment,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it allows you to dip your toe into that the Froofy Girl type of, the bling bling type of side. But it's crazy. This has actually become a big deal with guys.
Yeah.
Especially the more manly colors. Pink, not so much.
Yeah, no,
Right.
what this color here is called Onyx, is this color. And
Yeah,
I had a
that's cool.
gentleman come in the other day, and he does kind of he does hip hop urban type of wear, and all of his style and all of the things that all of his customers, that's what they buy. And he said that the glitter stuff, he's selling more of that in the men's
Wow.
than he is even in the women's, which is counterintuitive to what you would think. You would think that the glitter, and the opaque are going to be one and the other, but it's just, there's a full spectrum, I think is the point.
You
of
get,
it all.
you open doors.
Mhm.
And this is one of the things that we did here at Coldesi back in our days when we were SWFEs, when we added direct to garment. Back in the days when I started here in 2004, we were an embroidery machine company, right? And we expanded into doing direct to garment. And what we learned is that during difficult times, diversification from our standpoint helped us weather the storms. And then conversely, our customers started to see that if you go back to the mid 2000s, even 2005, 6, 7, people would define themselves. I'm a screen printer.
Yeah.
I'm an embroiderer. And they didn't mix. They were oil and water, right? Nowadays, you tend to hear people define themselves as apparel decorators.
Yeah.
And you have somebody who comes into you and says, hey, we got a basketball league. We have these shirts. Nobody can do them. You do this. And when they come back to pick them up, say, we do embroidery and we do direct-to-garment printing. And we do rhinestone, whatever it is. It's going to open up doorways to people who you didn't have business from before. And it's also going to open up doorways to your customers you do currently have, which maybe keeps them at home.
Yeah.
Instead of drifting off and going and find a guy who does the glitter vinyl down the road.
Yeah,
Who does an
exactly.
embroidery machine or a DTG.
Exactly. And it's things we talk about in the podcast as well, is about being able to upsell your customers. So you provide them, they needed 60 shirts and you provide the exact design that they wanted. But in addition to that, you can deliver them, say, the shorts, and you just in addition to it, and at no additional charge, you can give them one and say, here's something else I do. Here's one on the house if you want to do more, etc. This is the cost and this is how they do it. And what's great about it is this takes almost moments to do.
Right.
And the learning curve is basically zero. It is the kit that it comes with is your first shirt in 55 minutes is the name of it.
Yeah.
So in 1 hour, you have a vinyl shirt done, including software installation and everything. And that's not true of basically anything we sell. Everything we sell
Right.
requires more time to put into it. That's why I just am a huge fan of the cutter and the vinyl. It's just very, very easy.
I want to show you the print that we just finished up. We got the other one in the heat press right now. This is just a print we did up. And what we're going to do is now we're going to let Mark. Mark's going
Show
to
off the software a little
Mark's
bit.
going to show off the software a little
Sure.
bit. I think we've actually already cut.
We have some cut already,
Okay.
and I'll show what we did. So I'm
I'm
gonna.
going to show them these. These are the been there, done that. These are actually cut and weeded already, right? Yeah, obviously you do it in reverse. So I'm really good at this stuff because my wife will tell you that most of the stuff I do is exactly wrong. And we've already cut and weeded these. We're going to go ahead and apply them. And what we've done is, as you saw on the shirt, there's stars there. We actually made these stars slightly larger.
Here.
We're actually going to use the star as a register. You know what? You got to do. You want to register one right now? Let's press it.
Yeah, I would like to move it to the table so
Okay.
you can do it properly.
We can do that.
Don't touch the camera.
Done. You
The last time Don did this, he broke the webinar.
Ruined
That's a
it.
good point. Yeah, we weren't able to record the webinar audio the last half, unlike the whole webinar, which we didn't record from the beginning because
Hey.
you forgot
Hey,
a button.
Well, if you don't mind, Mark,
yes.
let's start here for a
Sure.
moment.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
let's slow down a moment.
Slow
Let's
down.
breathe. We're doing a lot, and I'd like to slow down for just a moment and just let everyone grasp on what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
So we'll go into the software in a moment, but this is the Graph Tech cutter. It's a CE6000. Okay, so this is designed to. It's a 15-inch cutter, so that's what we've got in here. It's a 15-inch piece of vinyl, which is plenty for doing any garments. It's, if you look at the size of it, it's desktop size. So it's a nice piece of equipment to add. It's really a perfect add-on to DTG or embroidery or anything. It's just a great, simple way to start. The way that it works is we have rolls of material, and we sell tons of different colors, including your glitter and your opaques. So we've got it in white and all these things. So let's just take a look now. Now we'll step over. The machine is going to cut it out. And let's see if I have just a couple other things handy that I can show.
Hey, Mark, just so the people know
Mhm.
when they go to do this, how long would they press the vinyl onto the shirt?
They would press it for only 10 seconds.
Only 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
I'm glad the customers wanted to know that, okay?
All right, so just to give you a little view, when you're cutting this stuff out, okay, you're gonna set up in your software. The machine's got a blade on the front of it. The blade cuts out a design, literally just is cutting out outlines, whatever outline you put on there, and then you need to remove the excess vinyl. So while your direct-to-garment printer is printing, while your shirts are curing, you might be doing something like this, like let's say a branding logo is a great idea. If you want to do something, if you want to brand every shirt that you have, similar to how, Starter might do or somebody might do, where they put a little brand on the corner, this is how you do it. You cut 100 of them out one day, you pre-cut them all, and you can pre-weed them all if you'd like as well. And you weed them like this. There's no work to this. It's very easy. And so if this might be an example of say, a branding that you might do. You might do your logo,
great.
you might do your image, you might do your website or phone number, whatever it is. You have 100 of these in a drawer ready to go. And every single shirt you made, maybe you add it. Right. So there's a lot of interesting things to do. So anyway, let's actually move this on to the garment that we were talking about, though.
Okay.
It's pretty good. He's actually doing it upside down.
So what we are using, as Don mentioned, is we've got our stars as our registration marks. If you can, okay.
I'm gonna get right down closer there so I can see.
There we go. So we use our stars as our registration marks, just to give you a good view of what we're doing here.
Boom.
That's awesome.
And now we just put this for 10 seconds.
Boom. Look at the one. It's almost like miraculously underneath it.
So here is the one that we did this was the dad one. And what's nice about this, now we could have printed the dad on there, obviously, but we've added another effect. We've added another dimension. So that this particular opaque vinyl has some reflective.
It's almost like
properties.
a metallic look.
Yeah, it's like a half metallic.
Yeah, that's great.
Well,
So-
think about this. Here's your application. You get a booth at a local baseball tournament.
Yeah.
Right? You could print all of those up and then just cut on the fly.
Mom or dad.
Mom, dad, sister.
Yeah. Meemaw.
What?
Yeah, kids' names.
No,
What
names.
the heck is Meemaw?
Some people call their grandma
Grandma's
Meemaw.
Meemaw. Where are you from?
I mean,
they
I-
make jelly out of in
I-
Mississippi.
I don't or haven't, but I've heard of it. And if somebody wants to put it on a shirt and they're willing to pay for it, we'll call your grandma whatever you'd like.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh, that looks great too.
I mean, you see,
That
you
looks
add
great.
an aspect, and I think Mark nailed this early on. You can't do
That's
reflective.
bling.
You can't do bling,
Yeah.
glitter with direct-to-garment. But now we've got the best of both worlds. You're talking about that whole design. There's well under $1 in that whole
Yeah.
puppy.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm looking at this, and this looks better than I thought it would.
Yeah,
and I mean,
it
just
really
being
does
honest, this looks
look
so
good.
Not
cool.
that we don't prepare way
Yeah,
ahead of time.
Not
way
that
ahead of
not
time.
that this is the first one we did.
We would never
We
wing
did
it like that.
this minutes before the webinar.
And just while we're looking at this stuff, so here's an example of you could do, say, large numbers on the back.
Yeah.
So it might be a good idea.
Was that performance wear?
This is performance wear.
Awesome.
It's performance wear. It might be a good idea to do, if you're going to do a print on the front like this, which is hundreds of colors.
Right.
And on the back, maybe you're doing a solid white, or this is a two-tone. But if you might do solid white numbers, it might be easier for you to cut these out, print your big multicolor, and cut out your big numbers, and do it that way as well. So
Yeah.
it gives you options, and it gives you more materials to work with, and then it gives you cool effects like the glitter.
And
I love it.
And it's, I mean, honestly, it's ridiculously inexpensive to add to go with the Viper 2.
Well,
Yeah.
and a big thing about doing this is a lot of people do dabble into the names and numbers, or into the, and what they do is they buy die cut names, or die cut numbers, and die cut letters. You're not having to do a line, and you're not married to the sizes you have in stock, right? You can do these two-tones, which you don't see a lot of, and it just opens up a whole nother category. We had a customer, a huge customer. They actually had an entire embellishment side. They would be doing probably 25% of their work was this add-ons, and a lot of times it was complementing their embroidery, complementing their screen printing, their direct-to-garment as well. All right. So, no, anyway, we wanted to show you guys the versatility of using these things together, because a lot of times it's hard to visualize, right? Until you get to see this type of stuff and you wrap your head around it. It's not a huge add-on. It's the most logical add-on any apparel decorator or whoever had is to put a vinyl cutter in.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, if you need to do signs, it cuts
You can do
sign
that.
vinyl. All right. The average sign that you see on the side of the road, it says lose 30 pounds in 30 days. I keep forgetting to call. But those are Coroplast. Those are 18 by 24s. You can easily, this is a 15-inch wide machine, 18 inches by 24.
Yeah.
The space, using the white space and whatnot is perfect for doing those as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we want to kind of show the versatility. You saw the RIP software a bit. Shoot some questions at us. You guys have been really quiet tonight. Wow, we got no questions on the fly out. Are you all still there? Yeah.
Yes, they are.
There's
They're
like
all still there.
a huge number of folks here. What questions might you have about the direct-to-garment that I could answer, about the cut and press that Mark could answer?
There's a question about leasing. Do you guys lease?
We do work with leasing. Now, you can't lease just the vinyl cutter. But you can, however, add the vinyl cutter with your direct-to-garment printer or with your embroidery machine, right?
Yep.
And you can then lease it all together in a bundle. We absolutely do have leasing. Typically, it's 48 to 60 months, and it's a lease to own. So at the end, you own it. That's a really cool way to think about it, Mark, because when you start to look at it, now you're worried about $500 a month or $350 a month, whatever the number is, as opposed to how do I overcome this? And it's a lot easier from your mindset as an operator or an owner. Wow, I did $1,100 this month worth of business, and it cost me $375.
And honestly, so adding a cut and press system from Coleman and Company onto a purchase of a Viper2 might add $10 a month to a lease payment.
Right. Exactly. It's not a huge amount.
Yeah.
I think you're exaggerating a little bit about the $10 a month, but they use in marketing.
20.
All right. So there are a couple questions. Is the vinyl a hot peel or a cold hot pull?
Hot peel or cold peel?
Hot.
It's a hot.
It's hot.
peel.
You pull it right away.
Boom.
It basically
adheres.
falls off.
This
it's
stuff,
extremely easy to peel.
this stuff is like whisper thin. That's the real nice part. It doesn't have a lot of hand on a garment. And does it use Photoshop as well? Curtis is asking. Curtis, when you use a vinyl cutter, you have to use vectors, all right, because you need a line for the blade, the cutter itself. And so now if you've designed in Photoshop, and that design is what we would call an indexed JPEG, so let's say there's 8 colors or 6 colors or 2 colors very distinct, you can actually bring it into the software that Mark used to derive it, and it'll vectorize it. It'll trace it for you and cut it. So yes, as long as you're doing solid colors. Now you try to bring in a photograph of like the kids on the baseball team, no, it's going to blow up trying to figure out how many colors there are.
Yeah.
You certainly could do Photoshop and bring them in and do it as long as they're simple design.
So what I did today was I exported it out of Photoshop as an EPS, and that kept our sizing exact.
Right.
And then I just used that as my template and wrote in mom, dropped the stars right on top. There's preset shapes in the software. It literally took me about 90 seconds to make that.
And that
design.
software comes with the cutter as well.
Yes.
So Kayla was asking a question about the boldness of the colors. It's got nothing to do with the resolution in Photoshop and everything to do about the settings, which would be partially DPI and partially the setting and the RIP that we chose as well. The only benefit to the resolution in Photoshop is making sure that your picture is not too pixelated. We generally tell you if you generated at 300 DPI in Photoshop, at the size you're going to print it, you're fine. All right. You probably can get away with 150 to 250 in most designs, but if you're 300 DPI on a design, it could be 10 by 12, and you bring it in at 10 by 12 with 300 DPI, you're not going to have any resolution problem because the T-shirts don't even handle that kind of resolution, So you're fine with that. But that darkness, brightness, all boldness, all had to do with the actual RIP software itself.
Don, that's some good news.
Illustrator, Clyde was at, Clyde,
Excited when he's
good
done.
question. Clyde with an Illustrator file question. Absolutely, Illustrator files for the vinyl cutter would be the best because they are vector files. All right. But you can also, if you've got you've installed the RIP onto the computer where your Illustrator will, the RIP will actually add an export filter to your RIP to export into the RIP to print as well.
Yep.
Or out of your Illustrator, you can probably export out a PSD file, a Photoshop file, because they're both products of the Adobe family. You can bring those straight into the RIP.
And Mark had some good news he wanted to
Oh,
share. I don't
sure,
know what it
I
is.
tell Don as well, but I didn't even tell you, Don, yet. So I got the programming back today. We've got the programming back that we're like this close away from launching our online recycling program for
Sweet.
cartridges.
Oh, okay.
We've been working on this, guys, and it's not because we're slackers. It's just it's a difficult thing to make it make sense.
Huh?
You know, we want to we've been working towards the cartridges that are here on the Viper2 of having a recycling process. Couple reasons. Number one, to help everybody save money. Number two, you know, we got to not talk out of one side of our mouth and off the other side of our mouth. The idea, one of the benefits to direct-to-garment is it's a green process.
Yeah.
And if we are just continually dumping more and more, cartridges out there on the marketplace, we're not really gaining a whole lot in terms of green. So we're working on a program. It'll be in place.
Really soon. We just have to run the testing on it now. But basically, when the customer logs in, they purchase their cartridges.
Yep.
After they collect a number of cartridges, they're going to be able to log right into their account, click on the recycle program. It's going to verify their shipping information, where they're sending it from. They say, yep, I'm agreeing. I'm sending back what I'm supposed to send. They click OK. It prints you a prepaid UPS label.
That's great.
They slap it on the box, send it to us. When we get it, one of our reps will receive it. They'll verify that everything was done. They'll click
Don't
OK.
ship it a box of rocks.
And you will get a coupon code sent to your email as soon as we receive it. And it'll also pop up in the back end of your Coleman & Company account. So if you collect 3 or 4 of them and you don't use them yet, they'll be right in the back end of your account. Coupon codes ready to use to save
Somewhere
save
Michael
money.
Georgievich just flinched.
So-
when he said coupon code.
So great training.
Great training.
Prints on 4 shirts at once.
Yep.
Fits through a doorway.
And I'm going to go so far as to say the only cartridge recycling program in the direct-to-garment
Yeah, that's what
marketplace
I'll say that too.
in Tampa.
That's great. In Tampa. All right, guys. Any
other
final
questions? Oh,
questions?
we got any questions? We'll check real quick here. At
This
the
is
end.
last call for questions.
Okay. What about the illustrator? Okay. Looks like Kayla may have the last question. All right, Kayla, that's a support question. You really need to go to one of the support webinars. All right. That's in fact, Heath can help you out with that. With it. Usually, when you have problems with colors, it's really about your perception, or maybe whether you saved it as an RGB or CMYK. It's a good question, and I'll bring this up, folks. There's some tweaking that comes about. A lot of times people say, well, it doesn't look like what it looks like on my screen. And you go, they say, it looks blue on my screen. You click on it, and you actually go into Photoshop or Illustrator, and it's green,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's 80% yellow and 40% cyan, and they're saying it's blue. Nope, it's
Right.
green. That's green all day long.
Or just look at the same graphic on a different computer screen, and
Right.
you'll see a different
Or if
color.
the light is coming in. But no,
Right.
Heath can address that to you, and it's a good thing, because I know one of the things that Heath's kind of mastered is managing that whole workflow from the graphic to the shirt at a level that most of us only wish we could be
Yeah.
close to. And that'll be certainly one of the webinars, because the upside to that is it gets you printing quicker and giving better output. The more output you have, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more you like us. The more you like us, the more you get like Pam Carrillo,
Yeah.
right? And you bring us beer mugs for Christmas.
There you go.
All right.
All right,
Hey,
guys.
thanks you guys for spending the evening with us. If you
Yeah,
have any
thanks very
questions,
much.
contact Mark, contact myself. Go up on the Facebook page where there's a number of
Go
us
to
are active.
colemanandcompany.com.
Right. Thank you guys for your time tonight, and have a great evening.